And thank you everyone for joining us. On today's show, we want to talk about something called the Rule of 100. And Matt, what is the Rule of 100?
So Melissa, those that follow us here on the show know that we talk about this a lot, but I think it's good to bring it up again because it's such a core principle to what our beliefs are at the firm. So basically what the Rule of 100 means, or what it says, is whatever your age is currently, that's the percentage of your retirement assets or nest egg, whatever you want to refer to it as, that should be in a safer position, meaning you can't lose any money on it. And then the difference between your age and the number 100 is the percentage of your liquid retirement nest egg or assets that could be at risk in the market, and things like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. But I always stress only if you're comfortable with taking that risk. Doesn't mean that you have to take it. But most people today are kind of considering themselves to be moderate investors. You know, most people as they get closer into retirement don't consider themselves aggressive, and some will consider themselves conservative, but the majority of the population will refer to themselves as moderate. So if you want to have a moderate portfolio, if you're within 10 years of retirement, we always recommend that you follow the Rule of 100. So again, as an example, 60-year-old individual should have about 60% of their nest egg safe, meaning they can't lose anything, no more than 40% at risk in the market, like in things like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds.
Do you always need that mixture of stocks, bonds?
Well, you know, if you think about it, the old 60-40 rule is what we always used to hear. And 20 years ago, meaning 60% bonds, 40% stocks if you're retired, or vice versa. But, I mean, if you think about it, 18, 20 years ago, stocks were averaging, I think, like 14% per year. And then bonds were averaging 6%.
Yeah.
And I mean, at that time, the safe withdrawal rate, I think AARP put out that study, and the safe withdrawal rate was 4 to 5%. And what that means is let's say you have $1 million in your portfolio. Well, that withdrawal rate says you could pull out somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 a year, and statistically speaking, you shouldn't run out of money.
Okay.
Well, things have changed. I mean, this is not the same market as it was back in the 90s and 2000. I think stocks are now averaging like 8%, and then bonds are averaging around 3%.
Now they're way down there.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So that safe withdrawal rate of 4 to 5 that used to be is now more like 2 to 3%. So put that into perspective. If you have $1 million in your portfolio, that means you can safely withdraw $20,000 to $30,000 if you're still using that same 60-40 split that used to work. Now,
And are people saying I can't live on that? 2 to 3?
absolutely,
Yeah.
They've saved their whole life. They have $1 million. $20,000 a year is probably not going to do it for them.
So
Right.
this is a good point that Dustin's making, that some of the old generic rules that we used to follow in the past, when it came to retirement planning, it's just not working anymore. You know, I don't know anybody that's worked their whole lives to accumulate $1 million that, you know, wants $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month of income. So that's why I think it's so important to follow things like our Rule of 100. Now, when you look at the safe portion of the money, so again, as an example, somebody 60 years old would want to have about 60% of their money safe. And I always stress, when we start talking about this, you do not have to hit these percentages exactly, okay?
Right.
You know, being close to it is what we're talking about. 5 or 10 percentage points, one way or the other is fine. But the money that's supposed to be safe doesn't mean that it's in the bank, you know, getting 1% return or something of that nature. You can still have safety, but still get reasonable returns in the 6, 7, 8% range on average, possibly. So that's what we mean by safety. And then if 6, 7, 8%, you know, doesn't sound exciting enough for you, then that's where following the Rule of 100 would allow you to have some money, you know, chasing a higher return. You know, investing in things that are a little more exotic or maybe a little more exciting. But when you follow a rule like this, if we run into another market correction or another 2008 or a September 11th or something of that nature, and it's a few months or a few weeks before you're supposed to retire, then you're not going to get hurt nearly as bad as what we saw individuals during those time periods where they had the majority, if not all, of their money invested in stocks and bonds.
What I keep hearing you both say, which I think is so interesting, is that 10 years out from retirement is when you really need to start doing this. You know, I know so many people 2 years out from retirement is when they really start. What's the benefit of 10 years out?
Well, just to make sure that what you're doing is still what the best tool is. I mean, and like we talk about occasionally is doing an in-service rollover, or maybe there's some options that are now available to you that that are going to fit your goals a little better than maybe your 401k or something like that.
The other thing, Melissa, that we always use this 10-year time frame is because if you need to adjust some things, like Dustin was just talking about, well, those changes aren't going to happen overnight. We can get it done in 2 years if we have to. We can probably get it done in 2 months if we have to. That's not ideal, though. It's better to have a longer time frame to work on those things. And really, the biggest issue that I see in helping individuals over the 20 years I've been helping them is the fact that when we lose money in the stock market, on average, it's going to take us 7 years to recover from that market drop.
Is that what it took about for the correction, the big 2008?
2008 was right at about 8 years.
8 years.
So 7 years is the average. So some are longer, some are shorter. The longest it's ever taken is 18 years to fully recover. But sometimes it's just a few years. But if we just go with the average of 7 years, well, that's why it's so important that as you get to within 10 years of retirement, you start looking at this and you start adjusting things, because if you wait till you're 2 years out and we see a severe correction, more than likely you're going to go into retirement. You won't even have gotten back to even.
Or instead of 2 years out, now you're 10 years out again.
Now you got to
Work longer
to make up for
And
that.
so I'm sure both of you look at portfolios that people bring in 2 years out, 10 years out, and you see where they could have saved money for this nest egg of theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we see it on just about every client that comes in. There's some things that you could potentially tweak to make it a little bit maybe more conservative, but still accomplish the rates of return that they're looking to.
And a great starting point with all of that is to try and make sure that you're adhering to the rule of 100. And a lot of times individuals come into the office, they don't necessarily understand the rule of 100.
Yeah.
They don't know if their portfolio is set up properly, and that's where, of course, we're here to help if they need to call into the office. And we can take a look at their portfolio and see how they're doing.
All right, thank you both very much. If you want to know more about the Rule of 100, you can visit swdgroup.com. And stay tuned for more Strategic Wealth with Matt Dickin right after the break.
But if we go through some sort of a correction, the average amount of time it's going to take individuals to recover from that is right at 7 years.
Look, nobody's born knowing how to plan for retirement. So why not start your retirement education the same way thousands of Kentuckiana couples have? By attending one of our educational seminars created and hosted by financial professionals at Strategic Wealth Designers. The retirement professionals at SWD will show you ways to make informed decisions. For many, this workshop was the first stop on the road to their successful retirement. Register for an event that works best for you at swdgroup.com/events.
If you're retired or soon to be retired, meaning you plan on retiring within about the next 10 years, one thing that we definitely recommend that you do, especially in the current environment we're seeing right now with the economy and the stock market, is to stress test your portfolio. Get an analysis done to see exactly how much risk you have inside of that portfolio. If all you're being told is that you're diversified, then I think it may be time to get a second opinion. The stock market's had an incredible run. We've really enjoyed the performance that we've seen since really the beginning of 2009. But I don't think that the stock market's going to continue to grow at such a rapid rate like we've seen in the past. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it continues to go that direction. But I think we're going to get back to really more normal types of returns, and that means that we're going to have some volatility and possibly even some market corrections. What if another 2008 happens or another September 11th happens? How do you know what the impact's going to be on your portfolio? Are you truly diversified? Do you have enough diversification, or do you have too much risk, too much safety? Get an analysis done that can really answer a lot of these questions. We have software that can help. We have over 100 years of historical data, and what we'll be able to do is really project for you exactly what the impact will be on almost any scenario that you can think of. We can test for things like what if we were to just see another correction, or we can go into more detailed analysis, like what if we go to war with Iran or North Korea. We can also test for some positive things that can happen as well. What if GDP continues to improve? What if unemployment continues to go down? We can show you basically the impact of good or bad scenarios. Now, one of the things we always mention is nobody has a crystal ball, but almost any scenario that you can think of that could happen to the economy, the stock market moving forward, something similar has certainly happened in the past. So because we're able to take a look at this historical data, we can plug your specific positions that you own right now, whether it be stocks or bonds or mutual funds, into the analysis. We can basically show you what that impact will be. One of the reasons why we definitely recommend this for anybody that is within 10 years of retirement or obviously already retired is because if we were to see some sort of a correction, and nobody again knows exactly when that would happen, but if it were to happen, with sometime within the next few months to the next couple of years, I don't think anybody should really be shocked or surprised. It's pretty common that we have those, but even though it's been quite a while since we've had our last one. But if we go through some sort of a correction, the average amount of time it's going to take individuals to recover from that is right at 7 years. If you look again at the 100-plus year history of the stock market, when we've had corrections, the average amount of time it takes individuals just to get back to even, just to get back to right where they were before the correction, is an average of 7 years. Now, sometimes it's a much shorter time period than that. Sometimes it's a 6 or 7 months, 2 years, 3 years, something of that nature. But sometimes it's much longer than 7 years. The longest it has ever taken was 18 years for individuals just to get back to right where they were. When you factor in things like possibly taxes or certainly inflation, then that's going to make the true recovery even longer. But I'm just talking about just on paper to get back to where they were. An average of 7 years, the longest it's ever taken is 18 years. So as you move closer and into retirement, you just don't have that luxury to wait for things to get back to where they are today. So if you would like to, this is very, very simple. All you have to do is give us a call at the office. You can visit our website and request an appointment time. What we would need to do is just sit down with you, ask a few questions, and then have you provide whatever statements you would like us to analyze. We can analyze the entire portfolio that you have, or maybe just a few of the positions. If you just have a few stocks that you're concerned about, or maybe just a few different mutual funds, you're not really sure how they'll perform, or if the account's truly diversified or not, we can either look at everything all at once, or we can drill down and look at each specific account or even each specific position and show you exactly what the projected impact would be through a series of different scenarios for, again, either good or bad things that we can think of or you may be concerned about right now that could happen. So please give us a call at the office, schedule a meeting, and we'll be happy to run these reports for you.
Depending on what your goals are and what your age is, it's probably going to determine what types of goals that you're going to have.
WHAS 11 salutes Strategic Wealth Designers as a leading retirement and wealth management firm in Kentuckiana. The advisors at Strategic Wealth Designers have been helping retirees and pre-retirees live a safe and stress-free retirement since 2002.
Welcome back. Let's spend a little time talking now about the investment life cycles. And what I mean by that is depending on what your goals are and what your age is, it's probably going to determine what types of goals that you're going to have. And what I mean by that is I'm going to use 3 different examples here. And I'm actually going to use my son Jacob. He is 20 years old. He's just joined the Air Force and starting to start saving some money. He's starting to make a little bit of money now. He can put some away. Well, his goals at this point, well, let me be realistic. His goals are not really thinking about retirement planning. He's thinking about what's that new car that he can buy, or what's the new motorcycle that he can get when he's back from boot camp. So his goals at this point, they're going to probably require him to have some type of savings account or checking account. And then he's got a lot of time left until retirement. I mean, 20 years old, he's like I said, he's not really thinking about retirement, although I keep beating it into his head. He's got 40 years left of working until he does actually transition into retirement. So what he could do is right now he could go out and take basically his entire portfolio could be in stocks that are aggressive, maybe like Teslas or Facebook or things that are going to be pretty volatile over the years, but it's likely that a company like that will be here 30, 40 years from now. So he can go out and afford to take a whole bunch of risk in order to get those big returns. If he has a big loss, that's okay. He's 20. He's got so much time to make it back that he's in good shape. As a matter of fact, if the market went through some volatility or through some correction years, he could look at that as a good thing because now he's putting money away while the market's low, so he's buying shares at that cheaper cost so that when the market does start to rise, his portfolio is going to grow along with it. Now, once you get into your, say, 40s, now I just turned 40 this year. Now, I'm not necessarily thinking about the day I'm going to retire, but my goals are much, much different than Jacob's are at this point. My goals, I'm starting to think about, well, what would happen to my family if something happened to me? Are they going to be okay?
Are my kids going to have enough money to go to the schools they want? Are they going to be able to do the sports and enjoy the activities that they want? So I'm definitely going to look at some type of life insurance strategies. Now, I do have some planning going on for retirement, but I'm not being as conservative as someone that's closer to retirement. So I'm definitely taking a lot of risk. I've got a little bit of a safety net in my portfolio. I've got a good balance. I follow something called the Rule of 100. So I've got about 40% of my portfolio in investments that aren't really going to fluctuate when the market does see a little bit of volatility. But the bulk of my portfolio, 60% of it, I'm taking quite a bit of risk. I've got 30 years probably until I retire. And if they can get me to retire at that point, I love what I do, so I may not even retire in my 70s. Now, if you think about my parents, they're both turning 66 this year. Their goals are going to be very different than mine at this point. Now, they've both worked their long careers. My mom worked at UPS for nearly 40 years. She got a great pension and some health insurance coverage when she retired from them for both mom and dad. Dad owned a business his entire life, and he was an entrepreneur. He did a very good job at saving for his retirement. Well, they've accumulated their nest egg. They've accumulated enough assets so that they could transition over into retirement. Well, they sure don't want to have the same goals as me. They definitely don't want to have the same goals as Jacob. So what they are doing at this point is they've got a portfolio that's about 65% of it is in a very safe environment. They're getting that guaranteed income, the guaranteed interest year after year. They don't have to worry about interest rate change. They don't have to worry about stock market volatility. But they've got some benefits that they can enjoy for now or 20 or 30 more years from now that they don't have to worry about running out of money. Now, with their securities portion, with the stocks, with the exchange-traded funds that they have in their portfolio, they're not geared towards growth at this point. They're more of a balanced portfolio. They don't want to see the big volatility. They don't need the big years anymore, as long as they never have any of the big down years. You know, if you're close to retirement, especially if you're within 10 years or so of that retirement date, you want to really look at your portfolio. Look at your 401k that you have. Look at the IRAs that you've opened throughout the years at the bank or maybe the credit union. And are these investments really the right tools to have in place if you're within 10 years of retirement? Most people, they don't really think about talking with a financial advisor until it's maybe 5 years away from retirement or 3 years away from retirement. The time to start planning is once you're about 10 years or so away from retirement. There's some strategies you'll start wanting to put in place long before you retire, because the market does move in cycles. Now, nobody has a crystal ball, but what goes up must come down. We do know that. And when the market is going through a correction, it's taken as long as 18 years to get back to even. So if you're within 10 years of retirement, you don't have time any longer to make up for that type of volatility. So give us a call at our office if you have any questions about the risk portion of your portfolio, or do you have enough conservative investments? Are you geared towards retirement, or are you geared still towards savings? We look forward to hearing from you. Look, nobody's born knowing how to plan for retirement. So why not start your retirement education the same way thousands of Kentuckiana couples have? By attending one of our educational seminars created and hosted by financial professionals at Strategic Wealth Designers. The retirement professionals at SWD will show you ways to make informed decisions. For many, this workshop was the first stop on the road to their successful retirement. Register for an event that works best for you at swdgroup.com/events. Hi, and welcome back to the show. I want to spend a little bit of time today talking a little bit about taxes. Well, first of all, Matt, let's talk about the history of taxes. Why did it start? Where did it start? Is it supposed to go away or something?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, but we didn't start paying any federal income taxes in this country for a long, long time. It was actually 1913 when we first started paying some federal income taxes. Basically what happened was in 1912, Congress came to us and they said, okay, we've got a little bit of debt. We're having a hard time getting paid off. They said, we're going to have this federal income tax, but there's two promises we're going to make you before everybody gets real upset and angry with us. A couple promises. First, they said that this tax is just going to be temporary.
Yeah.
As soon as we get this debt paid off, we'll eliminate the tax.
Right.
And then the second promise that they made us was they said that nobody will ever pay anything greater than 5%.
Which we're below that now, right?
Yeah, right. So, they said nobody would ever pay anything more than 5%. So, does Congress ever keep their promises?
No,
and this
they
was
don't.
another area where they certainly did not keep their promises. So,
Yeah.
since 1913, now, obviously, we've had federal income taxes, and it didn't stay at 5% for long.
Yeah.
And they increased it pretty rapidly.
What was
after-
the highest? I heard it went up over 80 or 90.
Well, it's another surprise that a lot of people don't realize, but the highest income tax bracket we've ever had in this country is 94%.
94%.
94% for 2 years.
Good gosh.
Back in the 40s. And between the 40s and the 50s, we spent an entire decade at 90% or higher.
You know, I read somewhere that it was about Ronald Reagan when he was an actor, about how he was right on the cusp, and it seemed like if he acted in 2 movies, he made more money than he did in 3 movies.
Well, it was, he talked about in his biography that
Yeah.
he never made any more than 2 movies in a single year. Because at the time, he was getting paid about $100,000 per year.
Yeah.
$100,000 per picture. And if you made more than $200,000 in a single year during this time period, you would pay 94 cents on every dollar in taxes.
Wow.
So once he made 2 movies, it was like...
It's over. You may as well quit.
Why work? It's actually what drove him into politics.
Yeah.
He talked about that in his biography, that he didn't think that was very fair. He didn't think that was very American to have to pay 90+% in tax. So that's actually why he went into politics to try and fix it.
Yeah,
So-
I don't think it's fair either. I mean, taxes are something they're not going to go away. But should we start converting? I mean, I know it's been a hot topic here lately about the tax cuts that we've seen. Should clients or should our viewers start thinking about reducing their tax footprint overall, or what?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we recommend potentially is to take advantage of, arguably where we are right now, which is historically low income taxes. No matter who you talk to, everybody feels like they're
Paying too much,
They're
right?
paying too
Yeah.
much in taxes, but historically, they haven't always been 94%, but historically speaking, they've been much higher than what we have right now. And I think if you look at the changing demographics in the country, if you look at some of the issues we have with the debt or the unfunded liabilities of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, I would really recommend that individuals take advantage of this environment that we're in right now and start shifting as much money as they can towards tax-free options, tax-free investment accounts. So if or when taxes go up in the future, they're able to handle that a little bit better than if they have the majority or all of their retirement or investment assets in taxable or tax-deferred accounts. Dustin, most of the time when we meet with individuals in the office, the majority of their money is in things like IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, which is great that they've saved that money, but they've never paid any taxes on any of it.
Right.
So as they start to withdraw those funds, or when their heirs or beneficiaries start to draw those funds when they pass away, somebody's going to have to pay tax on it, and arguably I could see us being in a higher tax bracket than what we are right now, say 5, 10, 15 years in the future.
And on that note, if you meet with somebody and they have, let's say, a $500,000 401k, well, it's not what you have; it's what you keep. So,
Right.
what is that really worth? It could be worth $300. It could be worth $450.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what should clients do to really lock that in?
What ends up happening is when you have money, whether it's $500,000 or $200,000 or $1 million in an IRA or a 401k, really what you have is you have a partnership with the federal government.
Yeah.
You're in business with the federal government.
Whether you like it or not,
Whether
right?
you like it or not, because they own part of that account, right? Now, this is a really bad partnership because the other silent partner can kind of turn the knob on how much they own of your particular account whenever they want, and you can't do anything at all about it.
We're a little short this year. Let's crank up our ownership a little
let's
bit.
take a little extra tax. So, yeah, it doesn't matter how much you have, it matters how much you can keep, and so you're much better off having that $500,000 you were mentioning in something like a Roth IRA, or maybe different types of insurance strategies, or maybe municipal bonds even. So then at least when you look at your account statement, you know how much money you can actually get your hands on, and you can actually take that money out and spend and enjoy it.
Yeah, speaking on a Roth, I know a lot of times individuals or viewers may think, well, I make too much money per year, or I'm too old. It's not going to make sense for me to do a Roth anymore. Should they start, or does it make sense at this point, do you think?
I'm a huge fan of the Roth. Regardless of age or how much money you can put into it, I mean, tax-free is tax-free.
Right. Yeah.
And even if somebody's, say one of our viewers right now, say they're just a couple years from retirement, they should still possibly use a Roth, because nothing says that the day that you go into retirement, you have to turn the spigot on of every single account you have and start taking money out of it, right?
Yeah.
So if they already have money in a 401k or an IRA that they're going to live on, they could probably let that Roth money sit there for 10, 20, 30 years maybe, and let it grow and compound completely tax-free.
Yeah. And what it does, it really gives you options.
It creates a lot of options. One of the big reasons why we are big proponents of individuals having as much money in tax-free accounts as they can, again, and we don't proclaim that we have a crystal ball, but again, I think you can make a pretty strong argument tax rates will be higher in the future. And if and when that happens, if all your money is in tax-deferred accounts, there's nothing you can do, right? You need the money, or you have to take the money out, you're going to have to pay tax on it. Well, let's say tax rates do go higher in the future, and maybe it's a temporary environment. We're not here to argue politics on the show, but you could literally graph whether Republicans or Democrats are in control and where the tax rates are, right? So let's say at some point in the future, taxes go higher because the political winds shift like they always do. But that's going to be a temporary environment, and hopefully in 4 or 8 years, the other party can win and tax rates can go back down. If you have money in a tax-free account, you can buy yourself some time. Right. You could draw more money from that and less from the tax-deferred, and then wait until tax rates go down maybe. Then shift back to the tax-deferred account and take less from the tax-free. It just gives you options, like you said. Our clients that go into retirement, and if they have the majority of their money in tax-deferred accounts and very little to no money in tax-free, we'll recommend that they maybe start shifting some funds over, doing some conversions into the tax-free bucket, because we just want to have that option for if tax rates go higher in the future. I was going to say a lot of advisors are focused on trying to get you a little better return, which is important, or saving you a little bit in fees, which is important. But if the 15% bracket goes to 30% one day, or the 20% bracket becomes 40%, that's going to have a much bigger impact on you than 1 or 2 percentage points better return.
Absolutely. Now, would you say that Roths are the only option as far as tax-free, or what other options?
Not the only option. Obviously, you have the Roth IRA, and some people will have the Roth 401k if their employer offers that. But there's different insurance strategies that will grow tax-free as well if you qualify for them. And then municipal bonds, even though they're not paying a whole lot of interest right now, the interest that they are paying is tax-free.
Now, I know some viewers may think, well, life insurance, they hear that word and they may be scared away. I mean, are all life insurances built equal, or do you want to explain a little bit?
No, there's what's referred to as investment grade accounts, which is if somebody's looking to do some conversions, that's what we would recommend. There could be a couple of reasons why someone may invest in a strategy like that. One, if they need the coverage, but if they don't need the coverage, but they would still like their money to grow tax-free, then you can go with an investment grade plan that'll grow tax-free but still be able to provide some good returns.
Great. So if you have any questions about how to reduce your tax footprint over your lifetime, feel free to give us a call at our office. We look forward to talking to you.
WHAS 11 salutes Strategic Wealth Designers as a leading retirement and wealth management firm in Kentuckiana. The advisors at Strategic Wealth Designers have been helping retirees and pre-retirees live a safe and stress-free retirement since 2002.